Dating Potential and Instagram Official.
On this episode of Simply Necessary Conversations.
So first up for trending topics, we have this lady that posted a tweet, and she said, "Am I wrong for going on a couple's trip to the Zanzibar alone because my man can't afford it? I make more money than him, but I don't want to miss out on this amazing trip because of his finances. We are not married and I'm still young." So the question is, number one, is it wrong of her to go on this lavish couple's vacation without her man by her side because he apparently can't afford it? And the second follow-up question would be, at what point do you have to stop dating potential, or do you have to start dating someone that's on your level in a certain type of way?
Well, precision of language, it is not a couple's trip.
Yeah.
She's going by herself.
I don't know why she included the couple part. That makes it more insulting.
Yeah, so maybe she intended it to be a couple's trip, or when she initially thought she was going to plan it. But I'm wondering, at what point did she find out, number one, he couldn't go? Now, in my opinion, if it's a trip she wants to go on, she can afford to go on the trip, she should go. But then when she comes back, there's going to be problems. There's going to be problems. And obviously there's problems already. The fact that she can book a trip that he can't afford to book is already a problem. So this may just turn into a breakup trip for her. Like, she might need to meet somebody while she's on this trip, because when she comes back, he is not going to be happy. I just don't see how that's going to work.
I feel like for me, if I was in her situation, I would still go on the trip, but I would make it a girls' trip, or like go with my female friends or whatever. So it doesn't seem like a slight to him, like, oh, you too broke, you can't come. Like, I would just go with my girls, and then we're still good.
I'm shook. You, of all people, are saying that a woman needs to adjust to make a man feel better about his financial situation?
No, that's not what I said. That's not what I said.
Okay, enlighten me.
No, what I'm saying is that there in a certain type of situation, like if you are really high up in your job and you had all this success, you have all these opportunities or whatever, and you can afford this trip, that doesn't necessarily mean that the person you're dating can afford the trip. So it's not a slight to him that he doesn't want to pay for this lavish vacation. If that's what you want to spend your money on, go do have your hot girl summer or whatever with your girls, or by yourself. But don't say it's a couple's trip when you leaving him at home, and don't make him, if you're going to stay in the relationship and you don't see anything with the gap in salary difference or whatever, if you don't see anything wrong with that before, you shouldn't see anything wrong with it now just because you want to go on vacation. So, yeah, I think you have to adjust in that case.
I think the fact that she posted that is indicative of the fact that there has probably been previous discussion. This is probably not the first time, or she's already foreseeing that this is going to come up again. Yeah. So if she's of the mind that she wants to live a certain lifestyle, she may be with the wrong man. She may be. Now, it's kind of touchy because we've discussed before that a lot of times, I'm assuming that she's black. Is she a black woman?
It was a black page.
Okay, a lot of times black females out-earn their partners because opportunities. A lot of companies will, let's give some background. A lot of companies will hire a black woman before they hire a black man, absolutely, for a lot of reasons. One is because we fill two quotas. We fill the female quota, we fill the race quota.
Minority.
And then another reason, unfortunately, is because they are less intimidated by a female than a male. So if they got to hire a black person, they would rather fill those spaces with females than males. That's unfortunate for black men. But at the same time, as a woman, how do you continue to navigate, I can, but he can't. I can't, especially when he's not your husband. Now, if you are married to the person, which I would think all of these issues would have been worked out or resolved or figured out by the time you get married to him, then that's different, because we've talked about it before. My mom at a point out-earned my dad, but that was because he set her up to be able to do that. That's a little bit different situation.
But the thing about specifically about the vacation is there's a difference between I can pay my bills and you can't pay my bills, and I can afford luxury extra things and you can't afford luxury extra things.
But if you can afford it, it's no longer luxury. That's feeding your soul. That's mental health. Like, you need to be able to do things for yourself.
Realistically, in this economy, can afford a trip to Zanzibar on a whim? realistically. I can't do that. I don't know, like,
how much is a trip? You might be.
okay, let's Google how much.
I mean, you're saying that, but like you might be able to. I don't know. I mean, I can afford a trip to Zanzibar. Like, I am not trying to do that, but I could do it. The point is, how often is that income gap, financial gap, luxury gap going to be a problem? That's what she has to figure out now. And they really need to figure that out as a couple. If he's going to continue to have to stay home while she goes, or if she's going to continue to want to do things that he can't also participate in, that's going to be a problem. Like, that's just like her having a hobby or interest that's important to her and him not having that same interest. Like, it might become a problem.
It's not as expensive as I would have thought.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, I mean, travel is expensive, but it's not.
It's like a flight is like $1,000. That's not a lot.
And if she has a decent paying job, then, you know, I'm not in the situation where I'm just going to be willy-nilly paying $1,000 for flights, but I could if I had to, or I could if I wanted to. Point is, she and he are going to have a come to Jesus moment and decide, is this relationship going to work? I talked to somebody one time that said the reason he stopped seeing the woman that he was dealing with was because this exact thing. She wanted to travel. She wanted to do, you know, all kinds of luxurious things. He didn't necessarily have the finances. He wasn't in that position, so they just kind of went their separate ways.
I think this comes to the Kevin Gates quote that I will edit for non-explicit language. You knew who I was when you met me. So, like, I feel like if the situation festers, it's kind of her fault, because you should not have started dating somebody that didn't make a similar income to you.
Sometimes people will misrepresent who they are or what they can will do.
But there's only so much you can, like, either you make this or you don't make it.
Okay, we women try to be hardcore a lot of times, and we buy the business, but we also are very emotional creatures. And sometimes by the time you realize he is broke as a joke, okay, you got feelings for him, so it's hard for you to separate from him.
Anybody that I've ever talked to for an extended period of time, I found out how much they made to make sure that, like, okay, like, if I can do this, you can do this too. We can, like, do these things together.
Again, sometimes they come out the gate trying to impress you, so, like, you get the impression that they can do blah, 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 and then as you talk to them, you find out they can't.
One of the first questions that I would ask on a first date is, okay, what do you do?
Okay. But what do you do is not the same thing as how much can you afford to spend on vacations.
Well, if they lying, then that's a whole nother issue.
But what I'm saying is, like, there's been times when I've dealt with not even just male people, female people, just people, and you find out that you're using the same words, but you're not meaning the same things. Some people, when they say, oh, I'm going to give you that, oh, I got good money in the bank. Okay, good money to me is not good money to you. Feel like I found people that consider good money in the bank $200, and the math ain't mathing on that for me.
But I feel like that just comes to, you actually have to have real conversations, and you can't just be like, oh yeah, you do this, okay, cool. Like, you actually have to be like, how much do you want to travel? How much do you want to spend on these things? How much do you spend on clothes and food? Like, you got to actually have that conversation. I feel like that's a natural conversation to have.
Still stand on.
Maybe it's a generational thing.
It is. I will stand on. They will lie. They will give the impression. I've had dudes swear, because they see us post theme park pictures all the time, pretend that they like theme parks or whatever. You talk to them long enough, or once the magic wears off, then all of a sudden they have no interest in that.
But I feel like that just comes to you as a woman being able to have that intuition to know, okay, this man probably is lying, or this, and yes, of course, it's happened to me before. But I feel like, at least for my generation, I think my generation is less afraid to have the conversation of, how much money do you really make? How much money do you really spend?
And then a lot of women don't want to ask that question because it makes them come across as gold diggers. You know, that's the first thing that they're going to throw at you.
But
is, she's asking about money. Yeah, so it's just one of those things where I still say, you as a female, once you get to a place in life where you can afford your needs and your wants, you can afford luxury, you can, if that's what you want to do, and I'm going to say this to young girls especially, if that's what you want to do not neglect to do those things for a man. Because when I first got married, I had the opportunity to take a job that would have been a very lucrative opportunity for me, but that would have meant moving out of Florida. He had a job. I was newly into the workforce. No, I stayed because my
But I don't necessarily
think
that was the wrong thing to do.
It wasn't the wrong thing to do at the time. But what I'm saying to you is, as a young person, think about it. Don't pass on opportunities because of somebody else. Because if things don't work out, or even if things do work out, you're always going to have that in the back of your mind, and you may come to resent that person.
But I also think you have to be careful about trying to date a man with money versus trying to date a man that wants to date you.
Sadly, I've seen lately, you can, and I hate to use this, but I hate to use this phrase, but I'm going to use this phrase for the purpose of this conversation.
God.
You can date down and still end up.
I did not say that.
Yeah, you can date it, because that's the phrase I'm going to use for this conversation. You can date down and still end up with somebody that thinks that you're supposed to worship them just because they're a male. They're males, and I'm not saying men on purpose. Males these days think that their maleness is enough to keep a woman.
All goes down to who are you giving your time and energy to?
It could range.
I feel like it's more about, obviously everybody done got at some point. Mm-hmm. Everyone has been bamboozled about somebody that they're talking to. But I feel like it comes down to, as a woman, are you being delulu and you're seeing and hearing what you want to hear, or you're intentionally ignoring red flags of like somebody not really caring about you as much as they should or whatever? And
I don't even think it's about care. I think I criticize women a lot on the podcast. I'm going to criticize. A lot of men are delusional. They think that women are supposed to accept things that are unacceptable. They think that some of them do, but that's why you got to choose wisely. Lots of them.
I feel like
they really do think that, being a man, like for instance, this guy, he may actually be upset with her for being able to afford and going on this trip.
I would be upset with her calling it a couple's trip, and
it's not a couple's trip. And why was she even, without checking with him first?
Well, first of all,
why did she check with him to see?
The first question is, why is this on the internet? Why do we know?
Yeah.
The second question is, how do you plan a trip and you don't know? Like, y'all
that's
don't
why
talk
I said
to each
there's
other.
some problems already.
Like,
this trip is just indicative of the problem, but there's some problems already because, like you said, she clearly made plans without having this discussion with him to find out that he couldn't do it. And then she took it public to embarrass. Because now we don't know her, we don't know him, but her friend circle knows exactly who she's talking about.
I just feel like I feel like people apparently do not talk to the people that they are dating. Mm-hmm. Like, you should have known whether he would have been able to afford the trip or not. Y'all should have already had this discussion on the third date. Like, y'all should have already known, like, okay, what's your financial situation? Like, what's your plan? Like, I feel like this is more so an older generational issue, because I feel like for my generation, we actually do, because
I don't think it's generational. I think it's person to person, but I definitely think that she's kind of flexing at his expense in this moment.
It sounds like, I'm this independent Black woman that don't need a man. I have my own money and I'm gonna go on this trip regardless. And I'm just gonna leave his destiny behind home. Like, that's what it sounds like.
I mean, she didn't say all of that from what I understand, but like for her to take it public, like, why take it public? Just go on the trip.
The moral of the story is, if you don't want to date somebody that doesn't make as much money as you, why are you dating somebody that doesn't make as much money as you? And why are you allowing it to become this much of a problem when you could have just cut the cameras on the relationship?
Sounds like he was a placeholder, and she's tired of him holding that place.
It sounded like she was lonely and she had her money and no man, and got a man, and now she want the money.
He was a placeholder.
So I just feel like it's just a messy situation.
Yeah, honestly. But she shouldn't have taken it public. Just go on the trip.
Yeah, I mean, just go on the trip. Don't make it no big thing. Like, your man doesn't have to go on every vacation with you anyway. So what's the big deal?
Yeah.
But speaking of things that could be a potentially big deal, let me put y'all on. I'm going to let you take the reins on this, because I watched the movie first, told you to watch it, and now you're going to educate our viewers and listeners on your thoughts on Leave the World Behind.
The movie was interesting, no doubt. I see why it was number one on Netflix, like it jumping in the number one spot. But it left me with a lot of questions, and one of the main reasons...
Wait, are you going to spoil the movie for people?
I'm not going to spoil the movie, but I'm going to say one of the reasons that I had lots of questions was because of who executive produced the movie.
Yeah, Barack and Michelle Obama executive produced the movie.
I have not ever really seen a former president executive produce a movie. I'm sure it may have happened and I just missed it. Al Gore probably has done some documentaries, because he did a lot about climate change and stuff, so I believe he did do... But a movie that was, and I'm going to put in quotation marks, for pure entertainment, I have not seen
for context, the movie was very post-apocalyptic, very like foreshadowing of what's to come if the world crashes and burns.
There were some things in the movie. See, you're ruining the movie. I'm not.
No,
there were
but
some things
that's like in the trailer.
in the movie that kind of either mocked or winked at things that people have theorized a lot.
It kind of winked at the concept of.
Don't do it.
I'm not
Don't do it.
going to ruin the movie. It kind of winked at the concept of higher ups knowing more than what we know, which is interesting considering that the president
like somebody that actually should have known.
Like, do you know something we don't know, Mr. President?
I'm trying to figure out if Mr. Barack and Miss Michelle trying to tell us something. Like I left at the end of the movie, I'm like,
but I will say now the cinematography. You know, I'm a cinematography
It was wonderful.
girl. It was a good, like it kept you in, like from the beginning, from the opening scene to the closing scene, it kept you engaged because of the shot choices, because of the script writing, like because of all of that.
And they did a lot of playing with your mind in that things that you thought were going to turn into something.
I would say the whole movie was you trying to figure out what the movie was about. And in a certain type of way, either you're going to love the fact that the whole movie you're trying to figure out what the movie was about. It's kind of like if anyone has ever seen the Jordan Peele movie Us. It's like when you watch, you haven't seen Us. I don't know why you're saying
no, but I know the
or it's kind of like Get Out, whatever.
Movie. And I was gonna say, and Get Out was.
But
similar.
it's like when you watch Us, like you were the whole time you were trying to figure out what's going on and theorizing what was going on. And I like movies that make you wonder, like, how is this gonna end? Now, for me, when I got to the end, and I was like, y'all got to be for real now. Like, I just watched this 2-hour and 21-minute movie, and that's the end.
And as an English teacher, the symbolism was off the charts. Like there was so. I mean. I want to say something, but I don't.
No, you don't.
I don't think I run the movie if I point out just one thing. Well, anyway.
Oh, wait, spoiler alert. Okay, now to do it.
Okay, if you don't want to know anything about the movie, tune out for a few seconds and then fast forward. But, and I don't think this is a spoiler anyway. At the beginning of the movie, the cinematography, Julia Roberts going up that staircase.
Yeah.
Okay, she just kept going up in circles. That was very symbolic, like that. You're going to keep going round and round trying to figure out what was going on. Like, it was a very visual representation of what the whole movie was going to be.
Yeah.
Like, back in the day, they used to have what they called an overture at the beginning of theatrical productions where they play, like, a snippet of all the songs that are going to be in a movie or in a production.
Yeah.
That was very much foreshadowing in an overture of, like, you're going to keep, like, going around, like, up and around and around and around. Like, just sitting there watching that, I could see that.
I really liked the use of diegetic and non-diegetic sound, which is a very technical word.
Oh, show out.
But
Go ahead.
I liked the use of sound in the movie because they were very intentional about when music was playing, the music meant something. When there was no sound, it meant something. When there was like heavy breathing or something drops or whatever, it created that suspenseful feeling of like impending doom is gonna like come on the main characters of the movie. And I like the fact that race played a part in the movie in terms of being realistic and in terms of like the
they addressed
little
a few
small
things
of like, yeah, like, you know, this is gonna happen.
There was some.
Is
Is it because we're black?
Yeah, is it because we're black? But I feel like they kind of resolved that by being like, now y'all are just a part of the human race. At
like,
this point.
yeah,
Like,
you black, but this had nothing to do with your blackness.
It kind of came across at times like people were being
profiled a little bit,
or people were being slightly racist. But by the end of the movie, it was just like, there's nobody left other than us.
Yeah.
So you don't have a choice but to be.
Well, and even it kind of touched on something that gets touched on very rarely, but sometimes, where Julia Roberts' character wanted to say things, wanted to behave in a certain way, but she was afraid of being a Karen. Like, she didn't want to come across as a Karen.
But I know.
I was in agreement with her character in that this has nothing to do with race. This is about protecting my family. This is about me.
But when I was watching, the way that she reacted to certain stuff, I'm just like, "Ooh, Julie, you playing this role of a Karen really well right now."
She did, but it turned out that she wasn't being a Karen, though. She was just being a mom. She was just protecting her family, and
I don't know if it turns out that she wasn't being a Karen. I
didn't read her as a Karen.
I read her as a Karen, but I read her as someone that was like willing to unlearn that over the course of the movie.
I guess because I grew up with Miss Julia, that I like her, that I just saw it as they're misinterpreting her in that role. They're misinterpreting her intention and I say that because there was nothing she did or said that I wouldn't have done or said, regardless of the race of the people that I was dealing with.
No, because, and this isn't really a spoiler because it's in the trailer that these black people show up to this house and that these white people are already in this house. When they open the door and she's just like, "You live here?" Like, you live here? I'm like, girl,
See,
sister, girl.
again, that goes to show you background influences your interpretation of things, because I felt like it was more of, I don't see any pictures of you in this house. I don't I didn't take that as right. I swear to you, and now you know that I will call out a racist, but I didn't take it. I took it as, how do I know this is your house? Because
I understood that after her immediate reaction was, why do black people live here? That's how
her immediate reaction was, why are you showing up at this house and you're not supposed to be here now? I'm gonna stand on it. I'm gonna defend Julia.
I think the intention of the movie was that she was being slightly racist, but she had to adjust because of the situation.
I didn't even like,
because in a certain type of, like, you can't completely ignore prejudice, stereotypes, whatever. Like, even the most non-racist person, the most loving-hearing person, is still going to have those preconceived notions.
But think about it. You're somewhere, you've never seen these people before in your life, and they show up
her reaction
at a house where you're supposed to be in the house alone, and they say, this is my house. Well, how do I know that?
If a white daughter and a white father pulled up to the house, she would have the same reaction?
I would have had that reaction regardless of who it was, because you're not supposed to be here.
You would have, because you're black. I'm saying Julia Roberts in the movie, you think she would have had the exact same reaction if they were white? I don't think she would have. I think she would have questioned.
I think she would have questioned it no matter what.
I think she would have questioned whether it was their house, but her immediate reaction would not have been, you live here. It would have been confusion, and then, wait, do y'all really live here? But her immediate reaction was like,
I don't know. I didn't read it that way, and I think it's because I like Pretty Woman. I love Julia Roberts. So my mind would not even allow me to view her in that way. I guess that was my anti-prejudice when it comes to her, because to me she reacted just like you should have reacted. Like, who?
But also, this goes back. This is turning into a race conversation. But this goes back into what I was saying the other day when I was talking to you. Is that I feel like as a minority, I automatically go into situations thinking about how I could potentially offend someone else if I say something wrong about their culture or assume a certain thing about them or whatever. Like, I'm very intentional about the way I interact with people. I don't think people that aren't black or that like aren't a minority think like that. I think they try not to, obviously.
Some of them do. It depends. Now, and again, because I know her background, if I'm not mistaken, Julia Roberts' family.
I know Julia Roberts is not racist. She is safe.
So, like, I couldn't see her, and that goes to show you can have blinders on about a person in a positive way. Like, I could not.
You're saying Julia Roberts. Was her name Julia Roberts in the movie? No, she was playing a role.
I know, but even her role, and I guess too, because I am the helicopter alpha mom too, I would have reacted to anybody.
But Mom, you're forgetting.
To me, they actually were too lenient in that they let them in. Give me some ID. Give me some ID. Like, I need to know who you are.
But once again, yes, of course you would do that because you're black. So, like, what I'm saying, it does not apply to you.
I don't know. Anyway, obviously this conversation lets you know there's a lot of interesting things that happen in the movie. But again, I need to know, Mr. and Mrs. Obama, are y'all trying to tell us something?
Yeah. And for the record, Julia, I don't think you're racist. Okay?
I need to know from the Obamas, are you trying to tell us something? Do I need to make preparations?
I'm just surprised it was trending when it first came on Netflix, and I just ignored a lot of the trending things because I wanted to watch the movie for myself. But I'm just surprised that more people aren't like theorizing that they could possibly
talking about it. Yeah. I'm talking because I promise you there was a whole lot of what?
No, because like the one scene where they're in the kitchen and they're talking, and she's like, "What you know?" Like, yeah, but anyway.
And then I'm like, "But wait a minute, he would have." Okay, anyway,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Back on to less serious topics. So what had happened was, let me phrase it right, because I don't want this to be misconstrued. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
To post or not to post? Should your man make your relationship public on the gram?
If it's a relationship.
Well, okay.
And not a situationship.
Taking off the fact that there could be a situation. No, this is a relationship.
No, I'm saying, like, if here's how I feel about this kind of stuff. I don't think that you should go out of your way to be exceptionally showy about your relationship on social media. Like, don't do that. Because when things are going great, you're going to be showing. When things are not going great, you're not going to want to post. And then people are going to be like, what happened?
Yeah.
But I also think that if he refuses or fails to, after it's been established that you are monogamous, that's the word I'm trying to say. Once it's confirmed that you are in a relationship, I'm not even going to try to say it again because I'm having a brain block. But anyway, once it's been confirmed that you are a couple, if he's still averse to putting you on his social media, there is a problem.
I'm not gonna lie. Omi was very anti-relationship on social media. But upon doing a little growing up, I feel like at the end of the day, I can delete the post if we break up. I want people to know that we locked in, ain't no switching up. Now, I'm not finna be like, my man. But if we do something extraordinary, if we go somewhere and it's a cute picture, I'm gonna post it. What's the big deal?
Why not? Like if you're in a relationship with them, the only time that you would not post somebody on your social media is either there's a couple times, you're not actually in a relationship, it's just a situationship.
That's
B, you're not proud of being in a relationship with a person.
Yeah.
Like you don't want people to know you're in a relationship with them. Or C, you got something to hide. Like you're trying to keep somebody else from knowing that you're in a relationship with the person. And by the way, ladies, if a man tells you, and like you're newly in a relationship with them, and a man tells you, oh, this girl or my ex is gonna blah, 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 so block her, don't block her. Don't block her because he's trying to hide you from her or her from you or their interactions from you. Like, don't do that. But if he can't post you socially, like if he's not willing to put you on his page, if you're a secret from the people that especially if he's very active. Now, there's some guys that say that they're not on social media and there's people that don't like to be on social media like that. That's fine. But social media will out a lot of things. So I say if he won't put you on his page something's wrong.
I feel like if you're not trying to hide anything, you shouldn't have an issue with it. If you don't want it to be like, oh, my whole page is you, that's perfectly understandable because you don't want to feel smothered on your own social media by the other person. But I feel like there shouldn't, it really should just happen organically to where you're with the person so much that they can't help but be a part of your life on social media.
But I will also say doing it or not doing it doesn't change anything if you're with a dog. It's not going to change anything because there are men on social media where their wife is in their profile picture with them and they're still doing all kind of stuff. So it's not going to change anything.
And two, I would say it matters. I guess it matters when they post you too. Like I would expect if it's my birthday, post a little picture, happy birthday.
Yeah.
If it's Valentine's Day, oh, you my Valentine. Yeah. If it's National Girlfriend's Day, oh, this is my girlfriend.
Yeah.
You don't have to broadcast me to the whole world, but
acknowledge you.
Don't let it seem like you're single to everybody else. And they don't know the real situation. And I'm out here being like, my man's so loyal and faithful, and the whole time you trying to keep me on the low because you don't know who else you trying to hit up.
And another red flag is if he was on social media when you started talking to him, and then when you start talking to him, he gets off social media, completely off.
I feel like if you can post an Instagram reel, you can post a selfie.
Yeah, something in the milk ain't clean if he decides that he wants to just get off social media because I don't want the drama. No, what you don't want to be is discovered.
No, why are we social media? Just because you're that's weird.
Yeah. So
that's weird.
Watch that.
Or if I say something about why are you liking every girl's picture? It bothers me. Or why are you under girls' comments? That bothers me. And then you're just like, you know what? I'm just gonna delete my account.
Again, if you're dealing with a dog, it don't matter because he's just gonna create a fake account. No, but I've gotten friend requests from the same couple of people multiple times, and I'm sure some of those requests are not those people, and I can't figure out why I'm getting them.
I feel like. If social media should never become an issue in a relationship.
It should not.
If the relationship is going well and swell, then
it should not.
It doesn't matter.
And then in theory, he and you in a certain kind of way, but girls have a little bit more time for that kind of stuff, I think. But he should be so busy with work, education, and you or something that he ain't got time to be just on the social media.
I feel like if you're really happy with the person that you with, you're not really on social media that much.
That kinda
because you should be in the moment.
Because you should be
present
somewhere.
And you talking to them. You don't need to post on the gram because you sending the pictures.
Yeah, you said. Pop up on birthday, Christmas, but you should be so engaged with what's going on with you in real life that you don't have time to be posting it.
Exactly, trying to flex.
Yeah,
there's no reason to flex.
Because Facebook is a whole lot of fake sometimes.
Because I feel like if you're trying to flex, that means that there is somebody out there that you want to be like, look, I got somebody. You jealous? No. You should just be so content with your relationship.
My social media pages is podcast, my blog, me trying to make some money. I'm just having fun.
I'm gonna post something about work. I'm gonna post something about my friends, but I'm not gonna be thirst trapping every Thursday. Like, no.
Yeah. And then speaking of thirst trapping, a lot of guys will refer to sometimes a photo as a thirst trap. Don't be mad at me because I took a good picture. Like everything.
But no, I feel like as a woman, if you post a cute picture, that's still considered a thirst trap.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Well, then all my pictures are thirst traps because all my pictures is cute. I'm not putting a picture up there that I don't think is cute. So like, whatever. Like, why would I put a picture?
What are you talking about thirst trapping?
I'm just saying.
At your age.
Like, no, but because some people will say somebody said that phrase to me, and I'm like I can't help because you looked at a picture.
I don't want to think about my mama thirst trapping. That's nasty.
What's girl? Anyway,
Ew.
Somebody said that to me, and I'm like, I can't help because I took a good picture. Like, that's not like, get off my page.
I mean, I feel like it's more about like, it depends on, like, sometimes I'll just post a picture because, like, oh, this outfit was cute. I want people to see it. Or you posting a picture because you want that one person to swipe up and be like, oh, you so fine. Like,
if you're talking to that one person, or you trying to get that one person's attention. But regardless of that, if you post a picture on your page and it happens, it kind of brings you back to that. And I'm going way back to the teacher that the person had a problem with because she looked too nice in her outfit. Like, it's that whole thing. It's like, well, so am I supposed to post homely pictures? Am I supposed to post pictures of me with rollers in my hair and looking busted? Like, no, if you who's putting bad pictures of themselves on public?
I feel like there's a way there is a certain thing about, I like to show personality on my social media. So like every picture isn't going to be being like, look at me, like I'm so gorgeous, I'm so pretty. Like some of them are gonna be goofy posts
pictures,
with my
crazy
friends,
pictures,
or like me being like, oh hey y'all, like it's gonna be fun. Like it's not gonna be so serious and me trying to look sexy and seductive all the time. Like that's boring.
Yeah.
But you're not personality.
Regardless of that, well, you might put a goofy picture up, but you're not gonna put a bad picture up on social media. That's bad for your brain.
I'm not gonna put a bad picture up, but I might put a picture that I feel like I look kind of like basic in, just because, I like this picture, like the background was cute, or all of my friends look good in this picture. I look just okay, but like I'm still feeling posted.
Yeah. Well, I'm not ever gonna be too glamorous on the social media because I don't do glam unless I'm gonna be going to somewhere special when I'm doing the glammed up extra pictures because I ain't doing all that. It's too much work. Way too much.
You're Ask a Gemini, like you're gonna ask me.
So, we kind of have this conversation just because of life be lifing. Mm-hmm. And I've noticed, well, we've talked about how things are very different from generation to generation. In my generation, interracial dating was not as prevalent. Now, in my parents' generation, it was kind of taboo. Like, it wasn't allowed. It could get you, like, my parents talk about having friends who either got put in prison because they were caught dating outside of their race, or even, I think in one case, I don't want to lie, but I think somebody was killed because of it. In my generation, it started to happen, like, around the time that I was in what we call junior high school. Now they say middle school, but it was junior high school. Yeah. Like, there was a couple of guys that I know that were liking girls that were white and they were black. It was rare.
Yeah.
As time went on, people started to date interracially a lot more openly and outwardly. But this generation is pretty much idiot. Like, I see kids and people, I see so many white grandmas with their little biracial grandchildren. And so, like, it's very, very common. Now, my question to you is, when you see a black man that is dating outside of his race, and I'm going to say specifically a white woman, because I feel like in a certain kind of way, a lot of other minority groups are minority groups, like, so it's kind of not as much of an issue. When you see a black man choose to date a white woman as opposed to dating a black woman, what are your thoughts? Are there any particular things that you either agree with, don't agree with? Are there criteria where you're like, okay, that's okay, but that's not? Like, what's your thoughts?
Well, first of all, that ain't none of my business. So I can't give criteria to someone else about dating interracially. But my only issue with it is if a black man is dating someone white, and the reason that they're dating someone white is because they're dogging black women, that's when it becomes an issue for me. Okay. And that's also when it would become an issue for the other women. Because, like, I've heard a lot of black men say misogynistic / like self-hatred type things of, oh, I'm dating a white woman because white women are easy to get along with. Like, what, you're shading both of us at this point.
At the same time.
You're shading both groups of women at this point by saying, like, oh, I'm going with what's easy assuming that a white woman is just going to be easy for you, and also assuming that a black woman is like so hard to get along with and so abrasive and so gruff and so bad that like you have to like flee your own race.
Yeah.
Like, is your mama not black? What's the issue?
Exactly. I only have a problem with it if a man exclusively dates outside of his race, like basically piggybacking on what you just said. If the woman that he chose or the woman that he fell in love with or whatever just happens to be white, whatever.
If you're going
but
out
if you
and you're
exclusively
intentionally-
date white women as a black man, to me that reads self-hatred.
No, I feel like that's weird because like exclusively dating your own race, maybe you want to keep your culture together, and maybe you like there's specific things that you want in that person that like that's part of your culture, and that's a whole
a comfort level.
That's a whole nother
a shared
thing.
history.
And that makes sense as a black person. You want to date someone that understands your culture, understands how you speak, understands what you say or whatever. But if you specifically only want to date one specific race that's not your race, it's either you're fetishizing that race. Like I hear a lot of black people say they want to date someone that's East Asian. Why are you fetishizing East Asian people? Like that's weird to me. Or like you only want to date someone white because you don't like your skin tone and you want your kids to look lighter, or they're easier to get along with. Like that to me is weird and problematic because you should just be open to, like, if you're open to dating all races, be open to dating all races. And if you end up like long term with someone that's white, more power to you. Like nobody cares. Just don't dog other races for no reason. That's weird.
Okay, follow-up question. So it seems that, and I'm generalizing everybody. I know I'm generalizing, so don't at me. I don't need you to explain to me that I'm generalizing because I am generalizing in this moment. It seems though, from a black woman's perspective, black women sometimes take issue with a black man dating a white woman, but they cheer for a white man that chooses a black woman.
Now, people are going to call me
I know what you're going to
hypocrite.
say, but I want you to address that.
People are going to call me a hypocrite. But it's different because, I almost like slid on my chair.
Please don't fall.
I'm getting passionate about the subject. It's different because I feel like men do the choosing, number one. And you always hear, well, not always, let me not say always. You hear a lot of times that black women are choosing white women because F black women. That's weird.
You mean black men are choosing white women?
Yeah, black men are choosing white women because F black women are so difficult, whatever. When you see a sister, there's somebody that's white, they're not dogging black men. They're not saying, oh, I hate black men so much. They're so difficult. They're so ghetto. They're so no. You just see her being happy with her white partner and living happily ever after.
I think the key to it is traditionally, not always, the man does the choosing. So as a white male, and this is just me and my theories, you don't have to agree. As a white male who sits in the United States of America in the place of the most privilege, financially, educationally, historically, as a white male, if you sit in that place of privilege and you then choose a black woman as your partner, you are, in some cases, Prince Harry, relinquishing your privilege at the expense, at your own expense, to be with that woman. And when you're not at the level of Prince Harry, you could have chosen pretty much a woman of any race, and you had the wisdom, yes, I said wisdom, to choose a sister. So it's looked at differently. This is another thing. It's a little bit less now. It used to be back in the day that a black man could not, in street vernacular, pull a white woman unless he had money. Like he had to be a celebrity or whatever. That's going away. Like, regular people dating everybody who or whatever. So, but a lot of times, or most of the time, the man is doing the choosing. So if you're a white male in a place of privilege and you have the wisdom to see that a black woman has a lot to offer, a lot to bring to the table, and you choose her, that's a little bit different feeling than a black man who is the chooser saying, I'm going to bypass all these black women that look like my mama, look like my sister, same skin tone, who, flesh of my flesh, blood of my blood. Like, I'm passing by her to choose somebody of a different color. It's kind of because the man does the choosing that is looked at different.
Also, I feel like if we look at the historical context, if you are a black woman, there's like this concept of you have to be the independent black woman that can take care of yourself.
We've
has
always had to.
Has the attitude,
all our
whatever.
life we had to fight.
Like it's that whole concept of like we can't live the soft life. Summer Walker has a whole song about it. We can't live the soft life. I feel like a lot of black women choose to date white men because they can get the soft life, and there's not a lot of like, oh, you're a strong, independent Black woman. You got to do it by yourself. That's ingrained in our
could be
culture
wrong
because of racism.
Internet, I know y'all are going to bring some evidence. If I'm wrong, I'm sure the receipts are going to come. But I can't think of a situation where you had a Black woman who's dating a white man and she's having to be his provider.
Oh no!
Like I don't know of a whole lot of examples of that. You see a lot of examples of Black women who are dogged because they're with a man that's not pulling his weight, and she's having to pull more. Most of the time, when a Black woman is with a white man, she's not being asked to be his provider. She's not being asked to sacrifice this trip. Probably
pause.
A lot of stuff. Now, I've only dated Black men, and I don't necessarily plan to date outside my race. But I do think that there is a whole dynamic where you don't see Black women with a white man that they're having to take care of.
I would like to say that in no way is a shade towards Black men, because I'm going to ride for my men through and
my
through.
My daddy Black, my family members Black.
But I don't want it to sound like we're saying like, yeah, like white men are better because they have money.
No, ma'am.
That's not what I'm saying at all.
No,
I don't think that.
No, ma'am.
But what it is I feel like there's more logical reasons why Black women date outside their race versus why Black men date out. But I have seen I forget that there's two couples that I follow on TikTok, Black dude, white woman in both instances. Like you can tell they're just in love with each other. Like the Black man is not dogging Black women. Like the white woman is not fetishizing Black men and be like, oh, like my chocolate drop, all that other weird crap that you'll see on social media. Like, it's just them like vibing. They are two human beings that love each other, whatever. So it definitely exists. But I think if we're talking about generalizations, Black men are typically more likely to say like I feel like Black men strive to create that whole soft life concept for women, and they feel intimidated. Some of them, not all of them, because I've met plenty of Black men that only date Black women or aren't intimidated by the fact that I have a job and that I'm successful or whatever. But I feel like some of them are intimidated by that. But I feel like also there's a large population that aren't intimidated by that, which is where I seek to find my men.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing I love better than to see a Black power couple. Like, there's nothing I like better than to see a Black man with a Black woman where it's obvious that they love each other, that they prioritize each other, that they're trying to build family, they're trying to build wealth, they're trying to do whatever. Like, I love to see that. There's nobody that is more of an advocate for Black people in general. But like I said, I love a Black man. Don't get me wrong. But I'm seeing more and more of Black men kind of, like you said, saying to Black women, like, y'all are too difficult to deal with, so let me go find somebody. And that right there, that ticks me off that they generalize in that way.
And the thing is we do not, I just had this conversation. We do not want to have to be so hyper independent and so difficult and so unsoft and so
in survival mode. Always in survival mode.
We don't want to have to be unsubmissive. Like, I want to be submissive.
I need somebody that's worthy of being submitted to. Because if I find a dude that's worthy of being submitted to, I am a domestic goddess. I'm ready to submit to someone that's worth being submissive to. But I'm not going to submit and do without and live less and whatever for your ego. I'm not going to stroke your ego like that. Now, if you about the business and you a bad MF, I got you. But I'm not going to minimize myself. I'm not going to stifle myself. I'm not going to be less than to make you feel better. And I feel like this. If you need me to be less than to make you feel better, then you're not man enough.
You should be willing to be on the same equal playing field as me. And be like,
it don't even got to be financial or educational, but just be strong enough.
You should be like, you don't have to be an independent Black woman because you have
right. That's right.
And then we will resolve all these issues. But by no means are we saying interracial dating is bad.
We got our family is very integrated. Like, it is what it is.
I don't really think of this on a day to day. I like who I like, and that's all. That's my business.
Yeah. So I mean, if you look at my social media, whatever, I got a bunch of friends, different races, different ethnicity, like all of that. So like, it's not that. I just posed the question because I see that a lot, and it comes as it's a hot topic sometimes. It's a hot topic sometimes.
It is. On to Gemini Jams.
Okay, so 'tis the season to be getting dressed up or whatever, and a lot of times you got on your little fancy clothes. Some of the stuff that you wear might get a little wrinkly, but you're afraid to tap it with that iron because just as sure as you pull out the iron, there's gonna be an accident. So
Or the hand wash, cold line dry,
yeah,
et
like
cetera,
all
et
of
cetera, et
that.
cetera.
And then first of all, let me preface this with read the labels. Make sure you know if it's safe to do
Don't
this
just
or not.
toss it in the dryer.
Don't just put stuff in the dryer. But if you got something that's wrinkled and either A, you're afraid to iron it, or B, you don't have time, while you pop in the shower, pop that thing in the dryer on, warm or high heat, depending on what you think it can tolerate. Again, read the labels and let it tumble for a while. Take it out while it's still warm, hang it up. And a lot of times, if it's, not too terribly wrinkled, the wrinkles will fall out. So I know people are wearing their best, Christmas wear and New Year's Eve party wear, whatever stuff. If you don't want to hit it with the iron, make sure it's safe. Tumble it in the dryer, hang it up, and some of the wrinkles will naturally fall.
And piggybacking off of that, you also could use a blow dryer if you already have something on and you just it's a little bit wrinkled, but it's not wrinkle.
Yeah.
Just a little. And my blow dryer gets really hot, so you could always do that. I feel like I've also seen people like flat iron their clothes.
I don't do that because there's oils and stuff.
But
in your hair
I
on the
wouldn't
flat iron. Don't do
recommend
that.
because it's gonna be oily and nasty. But
Yeah.
I mean, if you in a pinch and you at the hotel and you need to.
And then also, if you do the blow dryer thing, especially if you're wearing the stuff, first of all, don't wear it. Put it on a hanger because that's safer. But if you do, make sure you pull it far enough away from your skin and you don't burn yourself. Another thing that you could do in theory is if you need to iron something, you're afraid of burning it, is to layer a towel or something on top of that and iron over that so that you're not making direct contact with the fabric of the item. So there's all kinds of ways to get the wrinkles out of your stuff without actually touching it with the iron is the point.
Well, after we done been in everybody's business but our own.
All in everybody's
And
business.
give y'all some helpful tips once again for the holidays and just in general if you like clothes and, not being wrinkled when you go outside. Hopefully this has been informative and entertaining.
And enlightening.
Enlightening. So don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Period.